Hey, this is Paul Hamilton. I'm an economics professor at Asbury University. I'm also a certified financial planner. Just recently, I came across a new financial planning tool. It's called RightCapital, and I've had a great experience with it so far. It's a new and evolving product, but I want to go ahead and give potential clients, or even if you're not a potential client, just someone that's interested in looking at your finances, an opportunity to check it out. To get access, you'll need to email me and I'll send you the invitation. Again, there's absolutely no cost, there's no obligation, but I would be interested in seeing people use it and getting some feedback on what you think about the tool. This is a two-part series. This first video, I'm just going to talk about how you get your data in. Relatively self-explanatory, but I want to go ahead and give a quick overview. Also, if you check out my company website, usa-economics.com, you'll find more information and some other resources that supplement what RightCapital offers. So without further ado, there's 6 categories of information. The first one is to enter your family information. Almost everything here you would know at least, or have pretty good estimates. Hopefully your family, there's not an estimate, you know their birthdays even, as well as where you live and what state. The planning horizon, a little bit of information on that is, I typically set it at 90. Of course, a lot of people, a minority, but quite a few people live beyond that. That's important because that is, we want to make sure, or that's the target, to make sure we have finances, that our money lasts until at least that age. So you enter the information. You can add a child, even a child that's going to be born 5 years from now, if you're anticipating that, perhaps. However, you can change your marital status in the future. The next category is expenses. Most of these are lumped under what's called living expenses, which would be food, I was going to say groceries, that's food, eating out, utilities, clothing, gifts, you name it. They do break out a few special categories, such as charitable gifts, major medical, or if you're paying alimony, which have different tax treatments than buying groceries. There's also housing costs are separate from this. So when most people talk about their living expenses, they're probably thinking the entire amount that they spend per month. But there are a few items that's listed here that are not part of that. Federal and state taxes are automatically calculated within the program. To get your local tax, if you have a local tax of some shape or form, you can enter it here. The next major category is savings. So primarily into retirement accounts, and there's a variety of choices there, be it your employer, 401k, private IRA from Vanguard or another broker. If you have any kind of Roth account where you've already paid the taxes on it and withdrawals will be tax-free, you can add that. And then cash balance is essentially everything else. There's also a health savings account. Not a whole lot of people have these, but if you do, you can add that in. For your retirement plan, as most people have set it up, it would be some percentage of your gross income, and that will continue through your entire salary career. If your employer has a match, you can also add that at the bottom up to a couple tiers or a flat match. Most people would just have that first entry there, maybe 100% match up to a certain percentage. For income, it automatically adds salary. You can delete ones out that don't maybe fit your situation. And there's other possibilities there too. If you have self-employment, that's treated a little bit differently than working for someone else. If you have a pension or annuity, again, they might have slightly different or quite a bit different tax treatments. So for salary, it has essentially a relatively rigid path that you start at your current amount, which you should know, but then we need to assume that grows at some constant percentage over time. If you're planning to, say, change jobs, then you'll probably need to do something a little more customized using the other income, and then you can change beginning and end dates rather than just now until retirement. For Social Security, again, the program will estimate this for you, so you don't need to do much of anything. If you do want more precise estimates, you can enter your history of your Social Security earnings. That takes a little bit of time. It may be worth it to get a little more accurate results than based on current income. The next section is goals. So some of these are goals. Sometimes I think they're more hurdles or parameters, but whatever. So one would be your retirement age, how much you're going to spend in retirement, how much you're going to spend on health costs. So not all these are fun things you're anticipating, but things that need to be potentially addressed. There's other things too that, well, as listed here, college, and you can see some other ones there, a wedding cost, relocation, if you're going to retire to from Kentucky to Florida, you can add that. So retirement age can mean different things. Here it means when you stop getting paid. Social Security and retirement withdrawals could be at the same age or before or after this. Retirement expense is just retirement living expense. Here I had it drop down. It could be actually the same or even higher in retirement if you plan on traveling the world or in general having more cost associated with things that you used to do yourself perhaps. It is useful to have some kind of amount allocated for health cost out of pocket in retirement. So even with Medicare, it's not going to be 100% coverage. So there'll be premiums, Medigap, vision, dental, as well as the idea that one reason to break this out from general living expenses is that within the model we have medical costs as well as educational costs growing twice as fast as general inflation. Long-term cost is something that's hard to anticipate, but is a good idea to plan for. Here, the planning is not buying insurance, although you could add that in. It is for having a certain amount of money, presumably towards the end or at the end of your life, for, in this case, 3 years. That, again, will be bumped up to that future cost, which could be quite significant if it's decades away for you. You don't have to spend it on long-term care, but it's a kind of a buffer account for long-term care needs. College is the last goal that I've set up for this household. So RightCapital has some pretty nifty functions here. You can specify just a guesstimate. You can look at national averages, or you can look at a specific college. So I do that for the school that I teach at, Asbury University. Yeah, a little pricey, but hardly anyone pays that price. Just tell them Paul Hamilton sent you in and get a few bucks off anyway. But yeah, most students are going to get financial aid, maybe scholarships, work study, a number of things. So it is useful to go to, we have this at Asbury, on our admission site. There's a cost estimator that will give an estimate of financial aid and perhaps scholarships. There's not guarantees, but you can get a better measure rather than maybe the sticker shock of paying $33,000. The last category is It's very similar, like I say, to some other things out there like Mint, which tracks your various accounts. This is, as it says here, where you enter all your financial assets as well as some other real assets like your home. There's a couple ways you can do this. The best way in terms of tracking is to directly link your accounts, especially for those that are dynamic, like checking accounts or a retirement account that you're making monthly contributions to or maybe monthly withdrawals. If you have other accounts that are relatively stagnant or for whatever reason you don't want to link up to, maybe it's security concerns, then you can just manually enter an account and it won't track your interactions with it, but it proxies at least the initial balance, and you can change it as needed over time. So one challenge, and probably the most time-consuming part of entering this data, is depending on how many accounts you have and how organized you are with having these written down somewhere or memorized, is you need to know the various login credentials. If you forgot those, it may be a couple email exchanges to reset those or discover what those are. So I like to start with checking. Almost everyone has checking, and that feeds into your budget. Next, I set up a home. You can set up as a rental if you rent. Here they own the home, and you also have the property taxes and insurance associated with the home. Next, if you have a home, you probably have a mortgage. So here you enter some key information, the amount of the loan, the interest rate, the loan term, and it will calculate for you the monthly payment. It may be slightly off from your actual payment, but you can, I would say, go with it. There's no way to, unless you change some of the numbers, if you want to get a better idea. Next, we're adding various investment accounts. So just depending on what you have here, for some people it may just be a one 401k from work. For other people, they may have dozens of accounts they've collected over the years, mutual funds, individual stocks, bonds, you name it. So hopefully you only have a handful to enter here. And you have big balances in them. But let's see here. A couple things to note. The cost basis, if it's a retirement account, it's almost always zero. You didn't pay anything for it. You worked for it. If it's a taxable account, like 100 shares of IBM stock where you paid $2,000 originally for it, then that would be the cost basis, roughly speaking anyway. Again, coming back to the manual entry, this is what I've done here. You can just set it up if you don't know, or you may have some kind of hybrid account where you can break it into 2 or 3 parts. My suggestion is just to get something in there that proxies your account. If it's a stock, pick one of the first 4. If it's a bond, pick U.S. bonds or government bonds down at the bottom. If it's international, there's a couple options. So it's not going to be perfect, but the whole planning process is there's a bit of an art to add to the science. One thing you can do, which is a bit of a hybrid between the linked and the manual, is you can actually put in specific ticker symbols. So here I've done it for IBM and the number of shares that you own, and it'll look up the price and it'll update the price. So at least halfway there, especially if it's an account where you're not actively selling or buying more shares, it works just as well as having a linked account. The last category is life insurance. So there's a number of options here, including some permanent cash value policies. Here I've just set them up with a term policy, 20 years, $500,000 death benefit, and $500 premium, which again is outside of living expenses. So hopefully you gained a little bit from this overview, and if nothing else, got introduced to the RightCapital software. Certainly shoot me an email if you're at all interested. I'll send you an email invitation. You sign up and basically do what I just did in the last 15 minutes. In a second video, I go through the how to actually use this information, interpret it, and maybe it's useful in making decisions about saving and planning for college and retirement and all those important things. All right. You can check out more information on my website, usa-economics.com. It'll go through this a little bit more slower. It'll also have updates as the software evolves over time.